And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, I am now an hour into Gavin Newsom's 4-hour appearance on the Sean Ryan podcast. And what do you know? Gavin decided it would be better for him if he was the first one to bring up the French Laundry.
I despise me for the French Laundry.
The French Laundry.
Well, I was wrong. I went to this damn restaurant.
Oh, count the dams in this, by the way. There's a lot of them.
That's the rules for you just mentioned. I'm going to indict myself here. Biggest boneheaded damn decision I made.
There's the second one.
Boy, it's like machine gun fire, isn't it?
Now, it was a restaurant that was open. I went to a restaurant, and it was sort of coming out of COVID. We were in that sort of category that I just expressed, where things were lower in that region. And this was a restaurant that was open, but it was against the spirit of what I was saying, which is you shouldn't have large dinners with large group of people.
With a very large wine bill.
When you shut down restaurants everywhere else in the state except for you.
As we did. And I went to a damn birthday party.
He thinks it makes him sound more authentic.
And I paid the price, and I own it. You know, I'm not perfect, man. And I beat the out of myself for that. And everyone who criticized me is damn right.
Yeah, that's not what you've been saying. In fact, I know this to be true. The person whose birthday they were celebrating was someone who used to work for him for a long period of time, who is now the lobbyist for PG&E. And after this incident happened, I am of the understanding that the relationship between the two men was damaged because Gavin Newsom blames this guy for having his birthday party there and inviting him and hasn't forgiven him for it.
Gavin didn't have to go.
But like with all narcissists, it's never your fault. It's always someone else's.
I mean, sure, there was a lockdown, and sure, everyone was freaking out about COVID, but how often do you get the opportunity to go to a fancy birthday party at the French Laundry where the lobbyist is probably paying?
Not often.
And I beat the out of myself for that.
Well, I hope you had seconds that night then.
And everyone who criticized me is damn right.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Well, earlier this week, we told you that in San Francisco, the city is giving people parking tickets for parking in their own driveway if a portion of their car sticks out into the sidewalk. We know that across the bay in Oakland, people whose cars are stolen and then dumped somewhere where they're parked illegally are getting ticketed by parking enforcement. And then when the cars get towed, to get your car out of the impound lot, you have to pay for the towing fee and pay all the parking tickets. Well, now, Randy, we're learning about another wild stunt.
Well, this is almost going in the complete opposite direction because while San Francisco, if anyone uses 311, can narc on someone who's sticking out of their driveway, one thing that SFPD and the SFMTA are not doing is giving out tickets for expired registration tags.
And why is that?
Well, it's a long story. So it's a good thing we have ABC 7's Leanne Melendez here to explain it.
If your car registration has expired, you risk getting a ticket, right? Apparently not in San Francisco.
Anything goes.
I'll tell you, if I lived in a city where I have to pay that fee and because I have an electric car that's heavier, my registration is like $600 a year, I'd love to not pay that.
I bet.
So the question is, why? Well, that's what ABC 7 News Building a Better Bay Area reporter Leanne Melendez wanted to find out, and she is here with kind of a surprising reason.
Yeah. I was so surprised to see how many cars had their registration expired.
Yeah.
You know, those little tabs, TABS, the small yearly sticker that is placed on your license plate to indicate that the registration is current. Why are people letting them expire? There's one simple reason: the lack of enforcement.
Usually, that's something they're on top of, because if you allow your car registration to expire, that means you're not sending money to the state of California that's owed to them.
And usually it's just a fix-it ticket, but as someone that was in their 20s that got a fix-it ticket for this exact thing once, and then you forget about it because you're a dumbass 22-year-old stoner, that $25 ticket turns into a $900 ticket.
Uh-oh.
It was surprising to see that in a 3-block stretch, we found 8 vehicles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
She can count.
No one's paying attention to the law.
With expired tabs.
Well, it's an interesting thing. There are so many things that are over-enforced in a place like San Francisco, but if the word gets out that nobody is getting busted for expired tags, why pay your registration? That's a lot of money.
Well, what if you're going to Costco in a different county?
With expired tabs, yet not a single vehicle was given a ticket. Not even this one, which had a February 2024 sticker.
Boy, they haven't been paying for a while.
The responsibility for enforcing the law in this case falls on the San Francisco Police Department and the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency Traffic Division. But SFMTA says just because there is an expired tab doesn't mean that the car is not registered. Here's where.
It's just, and this has also happened to me before. I did my registration, but I was too lazy to put the sticker on time because then I have to go find a screwdriver to undo the plate so I can stick the sticker under it. Otherwise, it'll fall out.
Or someone will steal it. Maybe that's the problem, where so many of those stickers are being stolen, they just stop writing the tickets.
Here's where and when the problem started. On March 16, 2020, the California DMV asked all law enforcement to, quote, use discretion for 60 days in enforcing licenses and registrations due to the pandemic.
That was one of the first things they did in the lockdown. And let's not forget, San Francisco was the first place to lock down.
You know what's funny is my tags on my car are currently expired. However, I paid the bill. So I wonder if someone took the sticker off my license plate.
That could definitely happen.
The DMV then...
There's got to be a better way to do this. It's 2025. What are we doing with stickers?
Yeah, wouldn't you assume that they could be electronic by now?
The DMV then shifted from in-person to online services due to COVID. There were errors and delays with the online process.
You don't say.
Okay, but can't they type in the license plate to find out if you paid or not? So if you see an expired tag, you type the license plate in, and it should be able to link you to a database where they will let you know if the person paid the fee or not.
Well, here's the problem. If you've ever been to a DMV, whether it's in Los Angeles or San Francisco, the computers that they use to look up those license plates are so old that they're missing keys. And if you're missing an L and there's an L in your license plate, what are you supposed to do?
Well, I went on the DMV website when someone told me that my tags were expired, and I looked it up, and according to the website, I paid the fee. So at some point, I guess either it was stolen or I forgot to put the sticker on the car.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 with you on that one.
I don't even know what to think.
So rather than ticket someone for what seems to be an expired registration, parking enforcement officers are told to check in first with their dispatch center, which has the latest DMV information. Except that one enforcement officer told me that takes time, and time is money.
Yeah, they're not going to do that. If they have to call before they write the ticket and get a supervisor's approval to really check if your registration's expired, they're just going to say, screw it, and move on.
Nope, there's an amnesty for not paying your fees.
For example, it takes several minutes or longer from the moment a parking enforcement officer identifies an expired registration, makes the call to dispatch through a two-way radio, then waits for an answer which may or may not result in a $121 ticket. On the other hand, ticketing a person for a $108 expired parking meter takes a lot less time.
And they're on that one. You're 1 minute over the meter, they got you.
Oh, You could put up a homeless encampment and block a city street, and they don't care. But if you're parked illegally for 2 minutes, they're on you like white on rice.
Even quicker, street cleaning citations. From the moment this...
That's the one that always drove me crazy when I used to live on a street that had a sign that says, hey, it's Street Sweeper Day on Wednesdays between 10 and noon, because I would see the parking enforcement officer out there in his little Prius just waiting for 10 o'clock, and he'd start putting those tickets on everybody's cars, but there was no street sweeper.
Oh, that's very common in Los Angeles. That's a service that they cut back on. However, if the signs are up, it doesn't matter if the street is cleaned or not. You can still get the ticket.
From the moment this enforcement officer recorded the VIN number to then printing the ticket from a computer device attached to her belt took only 9 seconds.
Have a good one.
That's a revenue generator right there.
Cha-ching.
Have a good one.
Do you get paid on how many tickets you write?
I don't think they're supposed to do that. And if you talk to an officer, they say there's no quota. But you notice when they're out in full force and when it's time to write tickets. And you notice when they don't care.
Failing to move for street cleaning is the top parking violation in San Francisco by far.
And those streets must be super clean, right?
You would assume so.
SFMTA reported from January 2024 to January 2025, 570,000 citations were issued, which means the city brought in roughly 51.
That's like almost every car in the city.
How do those meter maids not get carpal tunnel?
570,000 citations were issued, which means the city brought in roughly $51 million for that citation alone. In 2019, before the pandemic, and before enforcement officers were told in 2022 to check in with dispatch, SFMTA cited more than 41,000 vehicles for expired tags. In 2024, that number dropped to a little more than 11,000.
That's not many.
Nope.
That leaves SF Police to enforce the law. But legislation passed by the State Assembly in 2023 prevents police from stopping a vehicle.
What?
Wait, how can they do that?
Oh, because equity, John. Because equity.
I'm sure.
That leaves SF Police to enforce the law. But legislation passed by the State Assembly in 2023 prevents police from stopping a vehicle if the registration expired within 2 months. A Stanford University study...
So it's like a buffer.
You're given a grace period just assuming the post office is bad at their job?
A Stanford University study found that traffic stops can sometimes lead to escalation.
So when you
Well, no. You know what they lead to? They find out you have a warrant out for your arrest and they throw you in the back of the black and white. That's what they lead to.
That's an escalation.
So when you limit those types of stops, you don't have those interactions as much, and you limit those interactions that can escalate into violence.
Commissioner Benedicto.
Yes.
Commissioner Benedicto is yes.
Then in February 2024, the San Francisco Police Commission further restricted an officer's ability to make certain types of traffic stops, even for an expired registration.
There we go.
We don't want people having quote-unquote negative interactions with the cops.
This is what the police commission does, and this is something they've been trying to do in Los Angeles that they already did in San Francisco to eliminate the whole idea of stopping you for any traffic violations because, well, something could go bad.
Well, go back to the conversation we had with the cop last week about MacArthur Park. And he said if they were looking for someone who had a warrant out for their arrest or parole, whatever, they could go to MacArthur Park and they could usually find the person. And if they couldn't find the person, they'd just pick someone at random, and that person had a warrant out for their arrest too, and it was their lucky day. Well, there are certain parts of town where if you have a reason to pull a car over, like for, let's say, an expired tag, you're going to find out that the person has multiple outstanding warrants for their arrest, and they're going to go to jail for a long time. But if you don't give the cop the ability to pull the person over, then they don't find out that they have warrants out for their arrest, too.
Even for an expired registration, often referred to as a pretext stop.
Meaning that African American and Hispanic drivers are pulled over at disproportionately higher rates, and any traffic stop is a high-risk encounter for the officer and for a member of the public to escalate.
Oh, boy.
They don't want the cops to do their jobs.
We can't enforce the law because it might disproportionately affect certain minorities is some kind of racism to me.
Yeah, no kidding.
But if a driver is pulled over for a greater offense, only then can they enforce the expired registration violation. And police numbers show that officers have been citing less. Expired registration citations are down from 599 prior to the pandemic to only 21 citations in 2024.
So why pay for your registration? Nobody
There's
cares.
no need to.
You understand that there are some people who are saying, well, you're not holding people accountable. There is no enforcement. What do you say to that?
We're all aware we have a police staffing shortage in this city, and with scarce police resources, we want our officers spending their time on what are the most high-value things, reckless driving, drunk driving, and other types of traffic offenses where resources could be better allocated.
They're not going to pull you over if you've got the big old dice under your rearview mirror.
You talk to any cop out there and you ask them how often when you pulled someone over for an infraction like this, did you find out that the person was wanted for something serious or abducted a child or had illegal guns or something serious where the cop pulling them over for that reason prevented something very bad from happening in the future?
So San Jose has the same problem, but they are stepping up enforcement to make sure that vehicles that are parked have the current registration. Why? Well, they looked at the numbers. According to DMV data for 2022-2023, at least 4,200 vehicles with San Jose addresses had registrations that were more than 6 months expired.
More than 6 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people don't follow the law if they think it won't be enforced.
Yeah, if you think it's anything goes, guess what? You act like it.
So they're doing something about it.
Yeah.
But how many times have we been stopped for just little, years ago?
Right.
I sound like my parents now. The good old days.
That's true. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a lot of money on the table, too.
Yeah. Thanks, Leanne.
So there you go. That's why no tickets are getting written for expired registration and no tags in San Francisco.
Now I feel like a sucker for paying the bill. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the email.
Kevin writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Hey, fellas, I was a cop in Southern California for a number of years, whether it was a headlight out, expired registration, and no turn signal. Some of my best felony arrests came from minor violations. The best one that I recall was a person wanted for double homicide out of Utah.
Oh, boy. I'm glad we found him. Or her. I guess it could be a woman. All right. If you want to weigh in on any of this, give us a call at 800-222-5222. 1-800-222-5222. Oh, it was definitely a man. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
John writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Hi, Jan and Randy. Here's a great tip for your listeners. When you get your registration tag sticker, put it on your vehicle's plate, then run an X-Acto knife throughout the sticker, cutting thin, invisible lines on the sticker, making it impossible for someone to lift it and steal it. These are the kind of things you have to do in California.
And now that we've crossed the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show and hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You can do a Google on the YouTube. You can get the KABC app. You can get the KSFO app. There are so many different ways to listen to The John Phillips Show and listen to it anywhere you want, whether it's on your friend's turf or on your turf.
Fighting our turf.
In San Francisco, the cops have been told to back off on pulling people over for expired tags. Many of you would like to weigh in on this at 800-222-5222. Let's begin with Andrew in West Hollywood. Andrew, hello.
I can't believe it. That email guy just stole my bit.
Oh, no!
I'm not kidding. I used to do that in New York all the time. You score it twice across the whole tag. The guy doesn't see the cut lines. He pulls it off, and he gets 1/3, 1/4, a half of your tag. It's completely useless to him, so he doesn't get to go around with a free registration. And then you find out, oh, well, it's been cut off. I'll replace it.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been driving for 30 years. I'd say 29 years.
And do you think that it saved you from having your sticker stolen any number of times?
It's insurance. We don't want to have an accident, but we have to pay our insurance in case. So it's one of those secret insurances.
All right. Well, thank you for the tip. We appreciate it. Let's go to JR in Brentwood. JR, hello.
Hello, how are you doing, guys?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. I'm parked in beautiful downtown San Brentwood on San Vicente here, and I was just coming up with some thoughts about what we can possibly do to shorten the career of our famous Governor Gruesome. Okay, I don't know. I thought that Trump has got some indictments kind of on the way for both him and Karen Bass.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Anyway, just a couple of comments like that. The thing is, to get things straight, it's very easy. Okay, you take one piece of paper called the American Constitution. You give everybody a copy, and you
No.
Boy, that's twice today. And he just went for it, too.
Yeah, the other guy knew that you weren't supposed to do it and apologized right away. This guy, I think, would hit 3 or 4 more.
We'd love to talk that way with y'all, but even though every politician likes to say that word these days, the FCC doesn't let it get used on these airwaves.
Nope, it's nothing but the Queen's English here, especially if we're quoting Ricardo Lara.
Where is Queen Laura? We need a little Queen Laura in our lives, don't we? Here we go.
May be criticized and dragged through the mud for it and get my wig snatched, as the gay guys say.
Let's go to Mike in Oakland. Mike, hello.
Yeah, hello, guys. I love your show. I was listening to this issue with the traffic, and on my phone during lunch, I got a message from a DMV, false message, explaining that if I don't get this bill paid, I'm a violation. They're going to come get me, drag me off into jail, and throw me in the dungeon, I guess. I've gotten these several times. The bridge 780 telling me that I went across the bridge and didn't pay the violation. It's kind of scary. You almost feel like you got to react, but you can't.
Well, and I think you have a good defense here because there's no way it could be from the DMV in Oakland because it's still flooded from that copper theft.
Yeah, I guess. But I could say in the last year I've probably gotten 6 of these messages. And I found out, my wife looked into it and she said, don't react. Don't touch anything. Just hang up on them.
No official agency, whether it's the toll roads, whether it's Fast Track, or whether it's the DMV, will reach out to you via text for a bill. They'll send you a bill.
That's exactly what they say. But I'll tell you what, if I'm in my 60s, but if I was a lot older, I would be freaked out by the way they word it, because it looks like they're getting ready to come knock on your door.
I could tell you this. I get text messages from the Fast Track Authority, the toll roads, at a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week. They are constantly spamming my phone with text messages telling me that I owe them money and I've driven on those toll roads illegally, and if I don't pay them money, I'm going to get in trouble. I get those all the time.
Well, it's funny because if you go across a lot, you're like, well, maybe I did. No, man, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm wrong. But no, they don't send text. But boy, whoever does, they don't give up.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Paul in San Francisco. Paul, hello.
Yes, there is a good chance if you don't have a current registration, you are not insured and you do not have pollution control equipment on your car. I thought San Francisco was really big on being anti-pollution and having a really positive environment for everybody, but I guess it doesn't matter for certain groups.
Oh, equity trumps environmentalism every single time.
Yes, and also if they're trying to protect poor people, what poor person can afford to operate an automobile in San Francisco?
That's a very good question. And this all boils down to what is actually going on here, which is the rules are only meant for certain populations of people, and some populations of people can do whatever the hell they want. It's like blocking the sidewalk. If you own a home in San Francisco and you're parking your car in your driveway and a portion of your car blocks the sidewalk, they'll give you a ticket. But if you have a homeless encampment and you prevent people in wheelchairs or people in walkers or mothers with strollers from getting by, well, it's your right to live there, so they just need to find alternate means.
Yes, maybe we should have better voters in San Francisco and not vote for some of these people to come up with these policies.
Amen. Thank you for the call. Let's go to Patrick in Norwalk. Patrick, hello.
Hey, John. Hey, Randy. Do you guys remember that movie Johnny Dangerously with Michael Keaton?
I don't.
Pretty obscure. But he used to cuss and say, "You f***ing asshole." He wouldn't cuss, but he'd come real close.
Yeah, that's too close for me.
Besides that, I'm sorry. They have a what do they call it, a daylight law now in L.A. County, where if you park too close to the intersection, you're going to get a ticket, and there's no signs for it. How sneaky is that?
Yeah, they find all of these trick ways to give you tickets so that they can bring in more revenue. But the whole point is not to correct bad behavior. The whole point is to bring in more revenue. In San Francisco, they don't want to enforce it because if they do enforce it, it would lead to people getting picked up for other things, for outstanding warrants and things of that nature. That's what they're trying to prevent. They would love to get their money, and they would love to be able to fine you and get their money. However, if that leads to more people going to prison, that's what they don't want.
It's the tail wagging the dog again.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. Ryan Gerdusky joins us at the top of the hour. Let's go back to the phones and begin with Bill in Irvine. Bill, hello.
Hey, guys. John, it's real simple. You look at a city like San Francisco, they're probably the only stupid city council that would pass such legislation of not enforcing tags. But here's the deal. Like the cop who called earlier or emailed in earlier, most responsible people in California are going to put tags on their car, and most cops will not pull you over if your 1 or 2 month pass expired. They usually wait till your 3-4 months past. And if you're 3, 4, 5, 6 months past your expiration, there's a good chance there's an outstanding warrant on that driver. There's a good chance that that's a criminal driver. And what better way to catch people and put them in prison in San Francisco if they want criminals running around their streets, then they can have them. But I do believe if we're forced to do this annual registration and we're forced to pay the money, then they should enforce it because, as I say, most responsible people put tags on their cars. Most responsible cops will not pull you over unless you're a couple months past, and then those people who are substantially past probably have issues. and they should be looked at, and they should be run. Warrants should be run, and if they're a criminal, they should be locked up. And that's how I see it.
Well, and I think that what you just described is the real reason that they don't want the cops enforcing it. It's not because, people are having a hard time financially, so let's give them a break. If they actually believe that, then they wouldn't find every way they can to raise our fees and raise our taxes and make life more unaffordable in California. What they don't want is they don't want cops finding people who are wanted for some reason or another. Because if the cop finds them, the cop has an obligation to bring them in, and then you have another person who is going into the system. And that's what they don't want. And their attitude is, well, if the cops don't know that they're wanted, then how can they be arrested?
Yeah, it's just like I heard a congressman speak the other day saying that we have to have equity in the prison. We have to have more white people in the prison. Really? Well, if more white people commit crimes, then there should be more white people in prison. I mean, this whole equity thing is ridiculous. Doesn't matter what your race is. If you have a tag that's 6 months expired, you should be held accountable. Where's your tag? Why didn't you pay for the registration? That's a violation. It's so simple. We have idiots in our state legislatures. We have idiots in our city council and county supervisors. And San Francisco, well, they'll just have more criminals running around their streets. Isn't that great?
And if it's not important to pay the bill, then it shouldn't be important for all of us. Then they should just say, all right, let's go ahead and eliminate the tax, and no one has to pay for a vehicle registration fee in California.
I agree. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. Let's go to Tony in San Francisco. Tony, hello.
How are we doing there? And I thank you for taking my call. Hey, Scott Wiener, the pedophile from San Francisco, is proposing a regional tax because the Muni is $312 short for their budget. And so he wants to do a regional tax to tax everybody to pay for Muni because they screwed up. But now they don't want to charge for registration, give you tickets for registration expirations and stuff. I mean, this is crazy.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. And just to be clear, Scott Wiener has not been charged with pedophilia or convicted of pedophilia. That is Tony's opinion.
Allegedly.
No, I think that's his opinion. Let's go to Eugene in Marina Del Rey. Eugene, hello.
Hey, John, how are you?
Good.
Great topic. I just had a comment. Like, if they bring that to LA and not stop people with expired tags, it would be awesome because I've got a bunch of cars and I'd save just on the Porsche alone like $1,500 a year on registration.
Oh, yeah. Well, if everyone just stops doing that, then it'll be fine and dandy for all of us. And then the state's going to go, hey, why can't we pay our bills?
Well, it hit home because I was just at DMV to pay a couple of registrations yesterday. Didn't have an appointment. I just figured I'd go in and do that. But that was 2-3 hours there, and they collect money right up front. Now they take credit cards. But are you old enough to remember back in the day, when you have a car, you're in between registrations, you just have a little sticker on the window. You don't even need license plates. The whole purpose of having like a new car that you just bought with paper plates is so they know whether you're licensed or not. Isn't that true?
Oh, yeah. They had the temporary licenses for a very long time. I don't even know what they do right now. When I got my new car, I think it had a license plate already on it. I'm not sure, but I think it did.
Right. Well, with a new car, if it never had one, it's a printed paper license number that expires. It's got an expiration date on, it's about a 2-month window, 3-month window. I got pulled over one time in Torrance, and I didn't know why, but they said, hey, can I see your license and registration? My wife was with me. I wasn't speeding. I wasn't right turn on red or running red lights. And I showed him the registration, and he goes, oh, I said, it's a loan car. My car's in service. It's just from the dealer. He goes, oh, okay. When you go back to the dealer, you might want to tell them that temporary registration expired a few months ago, and our stolen camera or our camera readers come back as not having any registration. It's like a blank plate. So just so you know, for people out there that's driving around, take a look at your registration expiration. If it's past the time, you might get stopped in Torrance.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it. Let's go to Kevin in Stockton. Kevin, hello.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. A couple things here. You're talking about them calling you regarding your bridge toll pass and that being expired or you owing money on it. Why don't they make it illegal for people to take our information and they make us opt out of everything? Instead of making us opt out, how about they make us opt in for that?
Well, I don't even think that's actually coming from the Fast Track Authority. I think that's coming from a scam artist who's trying to get me to think that it's from the toll company, and they want me to just give them my credit card number, which I'm not going to do.
And that's correct. But if they have a system where we have to opt out or opt in, then that's going to get rid of them selling our information and selling our numbers to people and to selling to scam artists. Another thing about the registration, it used to be when I was in law enforcement, anything over 6 months expired is towable, and then you'd have to get the tow truck involved. There's fees and everything else involved with that. And it sounds like the state of California is acknowledging that their registration fees are too high if nobody can afford to register their cars.
That is a very good point, but I don't think that's the takeaway that they're going to have. Thank you for the call.